Good morning, you PPOptionMillionaires.com on this Thursday, November 17, 2016, 2 hours before the opening bell. S&P 500 futures broke out last week of this wonderful flagging pattern that started at the beginning of this summer, trying to break up to match the record highs on S&P 500. Of course, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has already seen record highs. We're up about a little over 1/10% here this morning. A lot of rotation around after that spike last Wednesday. We have financials up one day. Down the next. Tech stocks were getting hammered. Now they're starting to rally again. An analyst out this morning say a really incredible buying opportunity on some of the FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. One thing to watch for, though, is the U.S. dollar index. Now it's creeping down back almost under triple digits, but you see this wonderful bull flagging pattern. If you go back 20 years, you can see what I'm talking about here. I've been following this for quite a while, and I think we're going to break up. Actually hit a new 14-year high yesterday, I believe, for the U.S. dollar index, but I think we're going to break to the upside. That could be a possible headwind going forward for multinationals as a stronger dollar will shrink demand for their products overseas. But if you look here on a short-term basis here, we're starting to pull back for the U.S. dollar. That could be construed as just another possible tailwind for the market here in the short term. U.S. dollar index down over 0.4% here this morning. We pull back, take a little bit of a breather on the U.S. dollar. That's going to help propel the S&P 500 to possible new record highs. You can see the VIX, this trend line that started the beginning of the summer, and you can see we're about to break through it. If that does happen, we get down to that 11 level. S&P 500 futures will be at record high. Now let's take a look at some of those FANG stocks here to start the trading day on this Thursday. Amazon, you can see a similar type candle that we saw back at the start of 2016. Remember, in the start of 2016, hit about 460, then more than doubled in price from there. None of the analysts were pretty bullish back then. You didn't see a lot of upgrades, but you did see a lot of upgrades when it hit record highs recently, calling for a $12.50, $1,000 stock. It's been pulling back ever since, but since found support. Remember last Friday, I believe it was, or last Thursday, dropped about 4 or 5% to the downside. You can see it's now up about $25 off those prices, rejected in this wick that you saw back at the start of the year. We're looking at a similar one here. It could imply a possible move back up into the 800s to the short, medium term for Amazon. How about Google? You can look at the GOOG. I like the GOOGL just because it sounds better. But if you look at stair-stepping pattern really over the last 4 years for Google's, we have a move to the upside, a step, move to the upside, a step, move to the upside. Are we stepping out here to about the $800 level? It's been a tough nut to hold for Google, that 800 level, but when indeed we do break above it, I think Google could beat Amazon to that $1,000 level. Let's look at Facebook, because Facebook, you can look at this candle it's had over the last month, but if you look from a chart perspective, it really makes sense. We came back to hit support, and there's a support line that I've been watching for a couple years for Facebook. Hit that support line. Now Facebook is kind of reset. Looks poised to move back up to 130. Now Netflix, the other part of FANG here, and you can see Netflix from a long-term perspective here. Each of these tops has been a great sell opportunity. So I think Netflix out of the FANG group is the one poised for downside, possibly moving back under $100 for Netflix, assuming we don't see a Disney buyout or some sort of rumor pop into the mix. This morning, earnings reports from Walmart. Walmart's down under $70 a share. This megaphone topping pattern for Walmart, possibly implying downside in the short to medium term for Walmart. Let's look at the NASDAQ overall, QQQ, and you can see it's just about bumping up against the upside trend line here. Let's see it get back up to 121st, which would be a new all-time record print for QQQ before possibly pulling back. IWM, that 130 level is like a cat dipping its foot in the water. Keeps touching that 130 level and then getting rejected. It did so yesterday. Today, up at the 130 level here pre-market. And if you look at the breakout that we've had recently for IWM to new all-time record highs, the small caps, certainly bullish for the market. And if you want to look back actually over the last 20 trading days, IWM was really the first one to turn the corner back just before Clinton was cleared by the FBI on Friday. The Friday before that, when the market was pulling back, IWM was actually up, and you can see this action here before fading a little bit late in the trading day. But the gap up on Sunday night into Monday morning, and IWM has not looked back, consolidating here recently. So again, we got to watch this 130 level for IWM as we broke out over the last 7 trading days. IWM has been the leader, the canary in the coal mine, or the canary in the bird food store, however you want to call it. Energy from a long-term perspective, 20-year chart, again, meeting some interesting price action here. If you look yesterday, we got up to 72 and change before fading. This morning, crude oil is up a little bit, helping energy bounce. We're at about 71.70 on the XLE. But this is a real key decision point because back in the middle of 2012, we broke out from this level. And at the start of 2015 is a level we broke down from. Have not been able to hold these gains, although we did have somewhat of a parabolic move to $25 off that 70 level to 95 and change in the middle of 2014. So is this another point where we're going to pull back? Or is this going to be a rally point? I really don't know, but what I do know is when we get some separation from this level, if we do get over to 73, 74 level, we're going to break out to 80, probably in a swift fashion. And if we start to pull back, probably going to see a move like we saw back at the start of 2011 and get down to the 60 and then 50 level for XLE. So certainly a key point in time for energy. Let's go to the bond market. TLT has been pulling back since Donald Trump became the president-elect. Found the 120 level bounced. Something to keep an eye on here is TLT, at least a relief rally over 125. I think the sell-off a little bit overdone, but from a long-term perspective, the sell-off in TLT is just beginning. Bond market sell-off implying higher interest rates, which is going to affect all those corporations that are highly leveraged with debt, one of which being Domino's Pizza. Earnings fabulous. Earnings store growth, awesome. Growing overseas, tremendous. But as the U.S. dollar index starts to rally, it's up over 100. We're going to crimp some of the gains that we're seeing overseas profits for Domino's Pizza, heavily leveraged. Book value for Domino's Pizza, negative $39 a share. So if the company decide to liquidate, shareholders would owe $139. But you can see the move up since 2009. I think it was a $2.60 stock. Along the way, the company has recapitalized its stock, I believe, at least 2 times in the past. Recapitalized, essentially like a homeowner utilizing home equity or refinancing their house to take money out. And that money for the corporation has been used to enrich shareholders and executives via special dividends and the like. So it's all rosy in a low interest rate environment where debt is virtually free. But when that debt has to get rolled over and refinanced, that's going to affect earnings. You're not going to be able to enrich shareholders as much. We're going to reach a tipping point at some point, and I think that's going to be when interest rates start to rise. Of course, the market's going to anticipate that a little early, and so I think that's what we're seeing. Domino's Pizza was down at 153 and change earlier this week. It's bounced, but I think it's headed back to the 150s and ultimately down to this 120 level. All right, UPB, optionmillionaires.com, a little less than 2 hours before the opening bell. I'll see you in the chat room. Everyone have a great day.